If you're ready to let your day fall away for a while, just lean into that idea with me. A calm, peaceful galaxy, a ghost ship that refuses to be a ghost, and the moment Ambassador Thren Velkari steps toward the airlock to meet Captain Sarah Chen, who has no intention of letting her people's story end as someone else's moral lesson. Tonight, let's drift far ahead of your own time. Picture a quiet galaxy, soft with old light. Most trouble is gone. Food, energy, shelter, all simple now. Worlds glow in gentle colors. Ships move like slow lanterns between stars. History class feels more like bedtime stories than warnings. And somewhere, in those bedtime stories, there is a small, sad tale. A blue planet that burned itself out. Earth, a world that tried to rise, failed, and fell silent. Children hear about it so they do not repeat its mistakes. Adults don't think about it at all. Now imagine this calm galaxy watching its long, easy night when an ancient human warship tears out of twisted space near the Galactic Council's main station. Its armor is scorched, its weapons are armed, and living humans stand on its bridge, certain that Earth is alive and that they left home only a few centuries ago. They are 20,000 years late. Tonight, we're going to sit with that story, not in fear, but in calm curiosity. You'll drift with Ambassador Thren Velkari, who wants truth more than comfort. You'll stand beside Captain Sarah Chen, who has lost 20 millennia and refuses to let her people's story be erased. You will watch a galaxy learn that Earth did not die. It hid, and it has been getting ready. Zenith Prime Station hung over a calm yellow star, wrapped in rings of light. The station was old and trusted. It looked a little like a silver flower that had grown around a sunbeam. Thousands of ships came and went each day, sliding in and out of docks that blinked in soft colors. Trade ships, science ships, quiet little home craft bringing visitors to see the place where laws were made and arguments were settled. Inside, the air was always the same gentle warmth. The gravity was always the same soft pull. The light adjusted to every eye, every skin, every sense, no matter where in the galaxy a visitor had been born. For most people on Zenith Prime, life was calm. Ambassador Thren Velkari walked a curved hallway toward his office, reading a report that floated in front of him on a clear pane of light. His 4 thin hands moved in a nervous pattern, tapping corners, scrolling, zooming. His species, the Velkari, were tall and willowy, with smooth gray skin that showed faint stripes when they were stressed. Right now, all his stripes were showing. Energy usage in the outer rings is stable. He read softly, more to keep his mind busy than because he cared about energy. Migration patterns within the third arm are within norms. Pirate activity, none reported in the last standard year. He paused and took a slow breath. He liked that line. None reported. It sounded like a warm blanket, simple and safe. An intern, a young, round-eyed Avron from a world of deep oceans, hurried past him, arms full of glowing data rods. "Morning, Ambassador," she called. "Morning," Friend said, offering a quick, kind nod. "Try not to drown in paperwork." She laughed and moved on. Threm watched her go, then turned into his office. The room was small by council standards, but it had a wide window that looked out over the star and the shining metal of the station's outer rings. Thren liked to look out when he needed to think. It reminded him how large the galaxy was, and how small his daily troubles really were. He set the clear pane of light on his desk and sat. A low hum filled the room as the office systems checked his identity and adjusted the settings to match his health. The chair shaped itself under his long frame. The air changed just a tiny bit, adding a faint scent from his homeworld, earth after rain over metal-rich soil. He relaxed into it, and then his eye caught the small hollow statue on the corner of his desk. It was a simple toy. Really, a globe of blue and white turning slowly above a tiny stand. Earth, as children on Zenith Prime knew it, a symbol from an old cautionary story. He touched the base, and the standard school narration began to play. Soft and gentle. "Class, this is Earth," said the familiar teacher's voice. It was a young, active world of an early species called humans. They grew fast, fought many wars, and filled their world with machines and waste. In the end, their own weapons destroyed their planet. Radiation made the surface deadly. Our first survey probes found only silence and storms. We remember Earth so that we do not repeat its choices. Thren cut the voice off with a small wave. He had heard that story as a child. He had repeated it when he worked with young visitors. We remember Earth so that we do not repeat its choices. How he don't repeat its choices. A neat little lesson, a clean ending. Except he had never liked endings that were too clean. Ambassador Velkari, said a calm station voice from the wall. "You have a council committee meeting in 40 standard minutes. Understood?" Thren said, "Please prepare my notes on the trade dispute in the 5th spiral." Done. He should have opened the briefing file. Instead, he just sat for a moment, watching the small blue planet turn above his desk. 20,000 years, he thought. We never went back. Humanity had died before the council was even formed. Whole empires had risen and faded since then. But space was big. It was easy to forget small, distant tragedies when suns, planets, and species filled the maps. He was still staring at the tiny Earth when the room lights shifted to a pale amber. "Alert," said the station voice, with a small, strange pause. "Priority signal from deep space sensor grid. Level unknown. Ambassador Velkari, you are requested in observation Halo 2. Thren sat up. "Unknown? Unknown how?" "Classification does not match any current chart," the voice said. "Council Speaker Jarketh will join you there." The hollow of Earth spun quietly in the corner. Thren's stripes brightened along his neck and arms. The floor hummed. Gravity turned sideways, soft and smooth, and then he was moving carried along an internal transit shaft toward the outer ring where the main sensors watched the stars. As he moved, status updates appeared in the air beside him. Anomalous Nay, Spearing, Near Zenith, Prime, Aloke, Spay, Time, Distortion, Elevated Oregon, Unconed, Risk, Level, Pending. The pod slid to a stop, gravity turned back to normal, and the doors opened into the wide, dim room of Observation Halo 2. The halo was mostly window. A great clear ring wrapped around the station, showing stars in every direction and the solid curve of the station's own hull below. Rows of sensor consoles circled the room, each manned by a focused technician from a different world. In the center, near the largest panel, stood Speaker Jarketh. Jarketh was short and thick, with a body that looked carved from dark stone. Thren had always liked that about him. Thren, Jarketh said, turning as the ambassador entered. Good, you're here. I came as fast as I could, Thren said. What are we looking at? Jarketh turned back to the main display. Trouble from the past, it seems. The main screen showed real-time sensor data. At first it was only a blur, like space itself had been smeared. Spatial ratio maps? Thren asked. A tech answered without looking up. Localized temporal distortion, Ambassador. Stable now. Something came through. As they watched, the blur began to settle. Numbers scrolled down the sides of the image. Mass, energy output, relative time flow. An outline formed, sharp and wrong among the gentle, rounded forms of modern ships. It was long and angular, with thick armor plates and hard, flat sides. Towers and gun emplacements broke up its surface. There were no smooth, living hull lines, no soft biostructures like new designs used. It looked like a knife that had been flung through time. Amplify hull image, Thren said quietly. The picture zoomed in. Harsh markings appeared along the side. Old letters, old script locked in the databanks as part of ancient history. You needed Earth spaceship Indomitable. The room went silent. Earth, someone breathed. Jarketh's stone-like face did not change, but Thren could see the small, tight shift in his eyes. That's impossible. A tech said, the Earth species destroyed itself before it reached full interstellar activity. There were records. Records can be wrong, Thren said, more sharply than he meant to. He took a breath and smoothed his voice. What is its status? The tech closest to the sensors swallowed. Hull integrity, poor but holding. Power readings, high for a ship of that size and age. Weapons, armed but not active. Life signs, he trailed off, fingers moving fast. Life signs? Jarketh pressed. Multiple warm-blooded organisms on board, the tech said. Brain waves. Active. Thren felt the air around him grow very still, as if the station itself were holding its breath. Living humans, Jarketh said. Low. After 20,000 years. Could be descendants from a lost colony Another tech offered weakly. Identify ship age, Thren said. Based on hull material and layout, the tech stared at the numbers. Designed 21,000 years ago, give or take. Its own internal time, he blinked. Ambassador, the ship's clock is only 312 years past launch. So for them, Thren said slowly, a few centuries. For us, 20 millennia. A ship that had fallen into twisted time and crawled back out near Zenith Prime by chance. Or something that only looked like chance. On the main screen, the Indomitable turned slowly, like a tired animal looking for a place to rest. Its engines flared bright, then dim. Have they hailed us? Jarketh asked. Not yet, the comms officer said. Their systems are old. We're trying to match bands. Try harder, Jarketh said. We cannot have a frightened, armed relic pointing at the Council's central station. Thren watched the image grow sharper. The armor was torn in places. There were deep, melted scars where energy weapons had hit long ago. The ship looked hurt. They might be as scared as we are, he said quietly. Jarketh sighed. You always did think about the other side of the door. Thren. Good. We'll need that. We have a narrow band signal. It's crude by our standards, but readable. Jarketh said. A harsh burst of static filled the room. Then a voice. It was human, sharp and clear, with a tone that tried to be calm and did not quite manage it. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth spaceship Indomitable, the voice said. We are approaching an unknown installation. Identify yourselves. Her words carried a faint roughness, like someone who had not had enough sleep in a very long time. All eyes went to Jarketh. He looked at Thren. Ambassador Velkari, he said softly. You handle first contact. You are better at gentle truths. Thren felt his stripes shift again. First contact with a species that had been dead for 20,000 years. A species that had built a warship with guns the size of shuttle bays. He stepped forward. This is Ambassador Thren Velkari of the Galactic Council speaking from Zenith Prime Station, he said, his voice calm, the way he had trained it to be. We welcome you. There was a pause. Static hissed. Then Chen's voice came back sharp. Galactic Council? She said, never heard of you. This is Sol Alliance Base. You're in violation of... She stopped, then spoke again, more carefully. We have been in a temporal distortion. Time outside our ship may have passed differently. Request current year in standard Terran dating. Dating, Thren glanced at Jarketh. The speaker gave a tiny nod. Ambassador. The comms tech asked, are you sure you want to tell them directly? We could ease them into it. Run medical checks first. Calm their fears. Thren looked at the picture of the ship, burned armor, scars of old battles, a captain's voice that carried duty and strain. They've had enough lies from the universe, he said. They deserve the truth. He turned back to the mic. Captain Chen, he said softly. Our records show your last recorded contact with any outside system was 20,312 standard years ago. By your world's old count, it is the year 42,831. For a breath, there was only static. Then Chen spoke again, but some of the control had broken. "That's not possible," she said. "My crew has aged 3 centuries at most. We left Earth in the year 22,519. The Sol System defense grid was..." Her voice cut off. Someone spoke in the background on her bridge. It sounded like another human officer, a deeper voice. Listing data. Thren waited, hands folded. When Chen came back, she was trying very hard to be steady. "Ambassador Valkyrie," she said, "our charts show no Galactic Council. Earth's last known external contact was with early trade probes from the Kellery Ascendancy, 10,000 light-years rimward. We have no record of a council government. You claim to know our history. You claim Earth is gone. I need proof." Thren felt a tired sadness move through him. "Our records note that Earth destroyed itself in a series of nuclear wars," he said. "The Sol System was recorded as radioactive and abandoned. Later surveys confirmed that report." Later surveys? There was anger in her voice now. "By who? When?" "Ambassador," Jarketh murmured warningly. But Thren continued. "Early council probes," he said. "Roughly 19,000 years ago. Then again at 15. Then 12. No signals, only storms and radiation. We placed a memorial marker in orbit and moved on. On the edge of his vision, the small hollow of blue Earth still turned slowly in his mind, spouting the neat school story. Failed world. Sad lesson. Chen was silent for several heartbeats. "Ambassador Valkyrie," she said at last, and her voice was tight. "Earth was alive when we left. We were sent to fight an occupying power. You are telling me that you checked our home from a distance, called us dead, and never went closer." The truth in those words stung. "Yes," Thren said quietly. "That is what the record shows." There was a rough sound, like someone hitting metal with a fist, barely picked up by her old comms. "Captain Chen," Jarketh cut in, his voice firm but not harsh. "This is Speaker Jarketh of the Galactic Council. Your arrival here is not simple. You are armed and unknown. We are responsible for many lives. We suggest you hold position while we send a boarding team to meet you and assess your crew's condition." Chen laughed once, short and humorless. "You want to send inspectors to a Terran warship," she said. "With what authority?" "With the authority of survival," Jarketh replied. "Yours and ours. You are 20,000 years out of date, Captain. Our shields can stop your weapons, but your ship might still damage this station before we subdue you. We would rather talk than fight." Thren stepped in before the mood could shift. "Captain Chen," he said, softer again. "You asked for proof. Let us come to you. Let us show you our records. Let us see yours. Your ship is a piece of history we thought burned away. Your people deserve someone who will listen." The line was quiet. When Chen finally spoke, her voice was less sharp, more tired. "How many are you sending?" she asked. "A small team," Thren said. "Myself and a basic medical unit. We will be unarmed." On the screen, the old ship turned, then slowly powered down its weapons. Energy readings dropped. "You have docking protocols for primitive ships?" Chen asked. "We have docking protocols for everything," Thren said gently. "Fine," she said. "You may board, but understand this. If your people tamper with my crew or my systems without consent, the Indomitable will defend itself, old or not." "Understood," Thren said. "Cut Jarketh." Jarketh turned to him. "You are sure about this?" "No," Thren said, "but I think it's right." The speaker studied him, then gave another of his small nods. "You will take a standard translation suite, a medical drone, and a recorder. If you see anything that looks like a threat, greater than a lost warship, you tell us at once." "Greater than a warship?" Thren asked lightly. "What do you expect to find?" "Ghosts?" Jarketh's eyes did not soften. 20,000 years is a very long time. Thren, history likes to hide teeth in the dark. As Thren left the halo and moved toward the docking arm, the station's deep systems reached out to the Indomitable, guiding it in. Tractor beams shaped and slowed its path. Airlocks extended like slow, careful hands. Thren stepped into the small shuttle that would carry him across the last short stretch of vacuum. The hatch closed behind him. He felt the vibration as the shuttle decoupled from Zenith Prime. Through the forward window, he saw the Indomitable up close for the first time. It was huge, old armor, charred and patched. Lights glowed in narrow lines along its sides. A few of its guns still tracked out of habit, slowly scanning. Thren thought of the blue hollow on his desk, of children being told Earth had burned itself away, of memorials placed at a distance like flowers left at a grave no one checked. "Ambassador," the shuttle pilot said quietly, "we are 10 seconds from hard dock." He nodded. As the distance closed, Thren felt a strange calm settle over him. Whatever awaited on that ship, anger, grief, confusion, it would be real, not a neat tale. Not a simple lesson. Real things he had learned were always better than tidy lies. The shuttle touched the Indomitable's hull with a soft thump. When the airlock cycled and the inner door slid open, Thren Vilkari stepped across, leaving the quiet safety of Zenith Prime behind. He walked into a human warship that had refused to die. The air on the Indomitable tasted different. Zenith Prime's air had a soft, balanced feel. It was mixed to suit as many species as possible. It smelled faintly of metal and clean filters. The Indomitable's air was sharper. It carried traces of oil, heated metal, and something like old smoke. Under that, there was a faint hint of plants. Filtered, recycled, pushed through old life support systems that had been asked to work far longer than they were built for. Thren's translation collar hummed at his throat. Adjusting his senses, making sure the oxygen level matched his body's needs. A small medical drone floated at his shoulder, its lights blinking a gentle blue. Soldiers waited on the other side of the airlock. They were human. Their bodies were shorter and thicker than Thren's, with varied skin tones and different hair lengths. They wore dark armor with faded markings, and each held a weapon that looked solid and deadly. At their center stood Captain Sarah Chen. She was not tall, not short. Her hair was dark and tied back. There were faint lines at the corners of her eyes that spoke of years of command stress. But her posture was straight. Her gaze moved over Thren, over the drone, over the drone, over the drone. Behind her calm stare, her mind was clearly racing. Ambassador Valkyrie, she said. The translation caller made her words smooth in Thren's ears, but he could still hear the exact tone. Careful, guarded. I am Captain Sarah Chen, commander of the United Earth spaceship Indomitable. You stand on Terran military property, and I thank you for allowing me to be here, Thren said, giving a slight bow in the human style he had learned from old files. I come unarmed, as agreed. This drone is only for medical observation. It will not touch your crew without consent. Her eyes flicked to the drone. It stays 3 meters back. Of course. She stepped aside. You may come aboard, Ambassador, but understand that we are still at alert status. My crew has blasters trained on your station. We would prefer not to use them. Please don't give us a reason. I have no wish for anyone to fire anything, Thren's smile, that did not reach her eyes. Follow me, she said. They moved through the ship's corridor. The walls were narrow and straight, with pipes and conduits visible in some places. The lights were steady but a little dim, as if power was being saved. The floor rang slightly under their feet. As they walked, crew members turned to look. Their faces showed many emotions. Curiosity, fear, stubborn pride. Thren tried to keep his own body language open and calm. Your ship has taken damage, he said gently, glancing at a scorched section of wall. We've been in a war, Chen said, past tense, apparently. What you would call the Archon Empire. Thren stopped mid-step. Stepped mid-step. The Archons? He asked. We have no such people on our records. Then your records are missing the worst part, she said. They reached the bridge. It was a tight room filled with screens and old-style controls. Holograms flickered in the air, showing star charts and energy readouts. 4 main stations circled a central command chair. At one of the consoles stood a tall, broad-shouldered human with pale skin and short, cropped hair. His dark eyes were sharp but tired. His uniform tag read, WBB. M. He turned as they entered. Ambassador, this is my first officer, Commander Marcus Webb. Shen said. Commander, Thren said, giving another small bow. Ambassador, Webb replied. His tone was polite but flat. Near the back of the bridge, a woman with warm brown skin and tightly coiled hair bent over a medical scanner she had pulled from its wall mount. Her uniform badge read, DRAOOK Champuo CMO. And that is Dr. Amara Okonkwo, our chief medical officer. Chen added, Doctor, our guest has arrived. Doctor, our guest has arrived. Dr. Chen. Okonkwo looked up. Her eyes were sharp, studying Thren with a doctor's habit of reading posture and health, even before trust. Vital signs within expected range for his species. Chen asked her quietly. Yes, Doctor, quietly, Okonkwo said, at least based on the limited file we have from early Zenith contact records. Thren blinked. You have records of Zenith? Your station sent small probes into Terran space during our last century before launch. You tried to stay quiet. You did not succeed. Frun felt an odd twist in his stomach. Our early explorers did not speak of contact. Seems they forgot to mention a lot. Marcus Webb said dryly, let's start with what you can prove. Chen said, Ambassador, you said Earth is dead. Show me. Thren took a careful breath. Not dead, he said. Recorded as dead. Recorded as dead. There is a difference. Not much of one, Webb muttered. Thren touched the small device at his wrist. A thin hollow image rose from the band. Data pulled live from Zenith Prime's archives. This is the official council record of the Sol system, Thren said. He magnified the display. A star appeared. Sol, planets circled it, each labeled in simple terms. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and around Earth, a dull gray smear marked high radiation levels. First survey. 19,000 years ago, Thren said. Radiation levels across most of Earth's surface were considered fatal. No active signals, no response to standard contact attempts. The report lists probable cause as self-inflicted nuclear war. We did build those, Webb said, his mouth a hard line. But we didn't use them that way. The Archons did. Thren's eyes shifted. Explain. Chen stepped closer to the hollow, staring at the gray smear. Earth was occupied, she said quietly, by a psychic empire that moved between stars like a storm, the Archons. They did not come in ships at first. They came as thoughts. They reached into our minds, turned leaders into puppets, made neighbors report on neighbors. When some of us fought back, they used our own weapons against us. They suggested targets. They pushed buttons through stolen hands. She glanced at Thren. From far away, I imagine it would look like we destroyed ourselves. Thren felt a slow, cold understanding sink in. Our probes saw the flash, not the fingers pressing the switch. Exactly, Dr. Okonkwo said. So you wrote us off. Left a marker. Told your children we were an example of what not to do. Her words were not bitter, just tired. Thren met her gaze. Yes, he said softly, that is what happened. We did not look closer. The bridge was silent for a moment. "Why are you heading to Sol now?" Threen asked. "If you believed Earth was occupied and burning when you left, why return?" "We were sent to break the occupation," Chen said. "To take the fight away from Earth. To hit Archon bases at the edge of their control. While our ship was deep in enemy space, we entered a region of twisted time. Our clocks slowed. The galaxies ran on. We fought. We ran. We thought we would return to a living home that had held out." She gave a small, bitter smile. "Instead, we find a galaxy that says we are 200 centuries late and that our world is a tomb." Thren swallowed. "And yet you still turn toward Sol." "Of course," Webb said, as if it were obvious. "If there is even a chance your records are wrong, we have to see for ourselves. If Earth really is dead, then we need to know why we fought. We need to see what was lost." Dr. Okonkwo folded her arms. "Whatever waits there, we owe it to our dead." Thren looked at the star chart on their main screen. "You will not reach Sol quickly," he said. "This station is far. Your ship's drive is powerful for its age, but slow by Council standards. It will be a long road." "How long?" Chen asked. "At your top safe speed," Thren said, "almost 4 standard months." Webb let out a sharp breath. 4 months on this crate, with half our systems held together by patchwork. Dr. Okonkwo glanced at him. "We've done more with less." "True," he said, "but we were younger then." Chen looked at Thren. "Can your council lend us a faster drive?" "A tow. Anything." Thren hesitated, then shook his head. "Not without full hearings and votes. The council is slow, careful. By the time they agreed, you would be halfway home on your own. Then we go as we are." Chen said gently, "If you will allow it, I would like to stay aboard Indomitable during your transit to Sol." All 3 humans stared at him. To sit on an old warship heading to a dead world. "Yes," Thren said simply. "You need a current link to the Council. And the Council needs someone they trust to see what is actually at Sol. I care about old mistakes. This feels like one we should not repeat." Chen studied his face. "I don't like unknown variables on my ship," she said, "but I like blind spots in my data even less." "Fine, Ambassador. You stay. Your drone stays leashed. You answer our questions as best you can, and you send your station a clear report of everything you see." "That is what I hoped for," Thren said. "Then let's get moving," she said. "Commander Webb, set course for Sol system. Maximum sustainable drive. Output. Dr. Okonkwo, begin full scans of the ambassadors, biology, and this council data has. Brought. I want to know what's changed in 20,000 years." "Aye, Captain," they both said. The ship's engines woke with a low, growing rumble that Thren could feel in his bones. On the hollows, stars stretched into narrow lines as the Indomitable's old drive pushed against space-time. Zenith Prime shrank behind them, a ring of soft lights. Around a yellow sun, the long road home had begun. Days slid into weeks. On a modern council ship, a 4-month trip would have been filled with comforts. Wide-open viewing decks, shared gardens, soft training games, and rich meals. Travel was meant to feel like a slow, pleasant holiday. On the Indomitable, everything had a harder edge. Gravity wavered sometimes when the drive strained. The lights dimmed during power shifts. Air filters needed more care. Supplies were rationed with care. Not tight, but not wasteful either. The crew moved with a steady, quiet discipline that came from long war, not from easy training halls. Thren found it strangely peaceful. He spent hours in the ship's small mess, listening to stories about old Earth, about oceans and cities, forests and sky. He watched recordings of early Archon attacks, people freezing mid-step, eyes losing focus as the psychic network rode their nervous systems, like stolen horses. Dr. Stolen Horses, Dr. Dector's says Stolen Horses, and Dr. Dector's Damned, so the psychic of Diane. The mass reading moved where no ship. He was low. He was. Okonkwo showed him brain scans taken during those attacks. "See here," she said, pointing to a glowing region on the hollow. "This is where the Archon signal hits first. It spreads along known neural paths, but in humans, there is always a small field of noise here and here. It makes their control less clean than with other species they've taken." Frond frowned. "Noise? Random firing? At first we thought so," she said. "Now I am not sure. There is a pattern in the noise. A shape, something like a built-in error that fights outside control. A natural countermeasure," Thren asked. "Perhaps," she said. "Or maybe we were changed. The Archons used us for a long time. They might have tuned us and made a mistake." Marcus Webb joined them, carrying a mug of something hot that smelled strong. "Whatever it is, it helped," he said. "The first real break in their control came from a cluster of humans whose brains just refused to stay quiet inside the network. Their stray thoughts shook other minds loose, small at first, then bigger. Like cracks in glass, Thren listened, his mind turning. "Your council must have records of the Archons, Dr. Khan's." Okonkwo said if they ranged far enough to reach Earth. "They did not stop at our sky. We have nothing by that name," Thren said. "No record of a psychic empire matching your description. There are rumors, old star myths about mindstorms and dark voices in certain sectors, but no confirmed species." Chen, who had been quiet at the end of the table, spoke. "Maybe your council never saw them because you never looked where they lived," she said. "Or maybe you looked, saw too much, and chose to forget." Thren did not argue. He did not know. They stopped once, 3 weeks into the trip, near a thin red star with a small, rocky planet. "This should be empty," Chen said. Frowning at an old chart, marking says failed colony, attempt 12P. "We lost contact during early Archon pushback. Assumed destroyed." But when the Indomitable came within sensor range, they saw structures on the surface. Domes, towers, a faint scatter of space traffic. "This is not empty," Webb said. Dr. Okonkwo's eyes widened. "Those are human life signs." Thrin's heart rate rose. "A hidden colony," he said, "surviving without contact for how long?" "Hundreds of years for us," Chen said. 20,000 for you." They opened a channel. The face that appeared on the screen was human, but the style of clothing and implants marked time's passage. The woman had silver lines running like fine roots along her jaw and temples. Her eyes flashed with tiny points of light as data scrolled through them. "This is Governor Imani Ree of New Kadesh," she said cautiously. "You are broadcasting on an ancient military band. Identify." "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Indomitable," Chen said. "Last registered ship of the Seoul Defense Command. You are 200 years overdue on your distress signal, Governor." The woman on the screen stared. Then she laughed, a broken sound that turned into a sob. "By the old oceans," she breathed. "You made it out of that storm. Captain, we thought you were lost. We thought everyone was lost." In the hour that followed, the bridge filled with stories. New Kadesh had been cut off during an Archon surge. The colony went dark from Earth's point of view. From their side, Earth's signals vanished first. For a while, they fought off Archon ground units and mind control pushes. Then, slowly, the pressure faded. "We thought the Archons had given up on us," Governor Ree said, "or died, or moved on. They rebuilt, they changed. They took apart what Archon tools they could capture, learned from them, shielded their brains, grew in secret, and when they finally reached out to the stars again, the sky was quiet," Ree said. "No signals from Earth, no Archon chatter, no council, just a wide, empty, dark. We thought we were all that was left." Thren spoke up. "Governor Ree, this is Ambassador Thren Vilkari of the Galactic Council. We did not know you existed. We thought Earth and her colonies were gone." "Ambassador," she said slowly, tasting the word. "Then your council has been very sure about things it did not check." "Yes," Thren said. "We have. They stayed in orbit for 2 days, trading information and supplies. Doctor, when Okonkwo walked the dusty soil of New Kadesh and compared its medical databases to her own. Marcus Webb stood under an alien sun and listened to children talk about fairy tales of a hidden blue world that some adults still believed in. Thren sat in the colony's modest council room and told Governor Ree the true date. 20,000 years, she said, leaning back. "We are a lost page in a very old book." "Not lost anymore," Thren said, "but still hidden. The Council will not be able to send a proper mission here for some time. There will be debates. Arguments," Ree smiled, faintly. "Then I am glad your Captain Chen is not waiting on debates. Where is she now? On her ship, Thren said. Pointed at Sol, Rhee's gaze turned inward for a long moment. Tell her this, she said quietly. Tell her some of us never gave up on Earth. We had to raise children and grow crops and fix oxygen leaks. But at night, we still looked at the sky and wondered if the old home was still there. Tell her, if it is, we're ready to stand with it, however far away we are. I'll tell her, Thren said. When he returned to the Indomitable and repeated those words, Chen listened with her eyes closed. All this time, she said softly, we thought we were a single torch in the dark, but we were a chain of small fires, scattered and waiting. A chain your council never saw, Webb said. A small edge in his voice. Thren did not try to defend the council. Not yet, Captain, he said. Instead, if there is a hidden colony here, there may be more. Do your records list any others that went dark around the same time? She nodded. At least 9, some near the core, some rimward. We had no ships to spare to check them once the Archon push hit Earth itself. Okonkwo said, we can see who else survived. After Sol, Chen agreed. They left New Kadesh behind them, its small lights shrinking into a distant point. As the weeks passed, Thren and the human crew slowly filled in each other's missing history. He told them about the rise of the Galactic Council, how species who had once fought over borderlines now shared energy freely, using star-fed reactors that never ran dry, how food grew in orbital gardens tuned to every biology, how most wars were now small, local disagreements that ended with votes, not guns. Chen listened, brow furrowed. So the galaxy is kind now, she said. Mostly, Thren said. There are still selfish people, but systems are built to lower harm, not increase it. And through all that, Webb said, you never looked closely at Sol again. No, Thren admitted, you became a bedtime story. A warning, a way to say, see? They burned themselves. We must be better. Okonkwo's lips tightened. Fat's a heavy load to hang on ghosts. It was wrong, Thren said. I am not here to defend that choice. In return, they told him details about the Archons that made his skin chill. They moved through thought, Dr. Okonkwo said. They linked minds into a web. In that web, a single will could puppeteer millions. Ships flew on stolen reflexes. Planets turned without their own consent. But humans shook that control, Thren said. Slowly, Webb said. At first, we were just a bad signal in their system. Later, our resistance spread like a song out of tune that you can't get out of your head. Other species heard it inside the network and began to question commands. Do you think the Archons are gone? Thren asked. Chen stared at the starfield on the main screen. No, she said. Bullies don't stop because they feel sorry. They stop when someone stronger makes them stop, or when they find a threat they don't understand. We hurt them. We cost them resources. I don't think that finished them. Her voice dropped. Waited, watched. They're patient. They count in ages. not years. Thrin's stripes darkened. Then why didn't the council meet them? Maybe they stayed away from your main traffic lines, Webb said, or maybe they hid behind another name in your records. You said there are star myths about mind storms. Sounds like them. Thrin thought of old, half-dismissed reports in the archives, ships whose crews went mad in certain sectors. Quiet regions no one jumped through anymore, because the Nav Guild swore the numbers always felt wrong. I will look again, he said. Do that, Dr. Two. Hokonku replied, for all our sakes. Near the end of the 3rd month, the Indomitable dropped out of faster-than-light for scheduled drive rest. Thren stood beside Chen at the front of the bridge as real space settled around them. Before them, on the hollow, a familiar pattern of bright points appeared. The stars of the local arm of the galaxy, and ahead, a small yellow sun. Soul, Chen said, very quietly. Thren felt a small shiver run along his spine. Range? Webb asked. 6 days at current speed, Helm replied. 6 days, Chen repeated. The crew fell into a softer, focused silence that Thren had not heard before. Checking weapons, even though they had no clear enemy ahead. Cleaning uniforms, recording personal messages. At mealtimes, they spoke of Earth as it had been. Blue oceans wide enough to drown a lifetime. Green forests humming with insect life. Cities tall and bright, crowded with noise, and food and languages. Snow, desert, rainstorms, the smell of soil after the first spring thaw. Thren listened, building an image in his mind that was far richer than the flat school hollow that spun on Zenith Prime. On the night before they expected to reach the edge of the Sol system, he found Chen alone in the ship's small observation bay. It was only a narrow room with a thick window looking out at the stars. Her hands rested on the glass. Her reflection stared back, tired, alert, braced for something she could not fully name. Ambassador, she said without turning. Couldn't sleep. I do not sleep the same way humans do, he said, coming to stand beside her. But no, I felt restless. Tomorrow, she said, we see what's left of my home, or what replaced it, or nothing at all. Thren looked at her profile. Are you afraid? Yes, she said simply. I have lost 20,000 years. My crew has lost everyone they knew, and my planet might be a myth. Fear seems honest. He nodded. Honesty matters. She gave a small, crooked smile at that. Tell me, she said, in your council, does anyone still care about Earth? I mean really care, not just as a story. Myself, Thren said. A few historians, some children who like sad tales. He paused, then added, I think that will change when they see you, when they hear you. Her gaze stayed on the stars, assuming anyone hears us at all. Captain Thren said quietly, in my culture, we have a belief that some worlds are not mistakes, but test runs for something greater. When they fall, their lessons do not vanish. They move quietly into other places, other minds. She glanced at him. Are you telling me Earth fell so others could learn from us? I am saying that if Earth fell, he replied, the story you carry will still change the galaxy. And if it did not fall, he let the hope in his voice show. Then we have all been wrong for a very, very long time. She looked back at the stars. Tomorrow, she said again. On the 6th day, alarms chimed across the ship. Captain to the bridge, came Webb's voice over the intercom. You're going to want to see this. Chen and Thren reached the bridge at the same time. On the main hollow, the Sol system hung in front of them. The star Sol burned bright at the center. Planets circled in familiar lines. This is wrong, Thren said. Sol is supposed to be under a radiation quarantine. No traffic, no structures. Our last probe. Your last probe must have been blind, Webb said. Because around Sol, in space that Zenith primes, files marked as dead and quiet, an entire hidden structure bloomed. Curved lines of metal and light wrapped the inner system. Stations orbited planets that were supposed to be silent. Energy patterns laced the dark like a careful net. At the edge of the system, in the region just beyond the orbit of the outermost planet, something like a vast invisible shell bent the readings. Stars behind it looked slightly displaced, as if seen through thick glass. Cloakfield, Dr. Star, Okonkwo said. Huge, layered, and very advanced. The only reason we're seeing this much is because we're inside part of its boundary now. Power output, mass readings, signal types. Those defense platforms, Webb said softly, pointing to a ring of long, slender shapes near the orbit of Mars. Those are Terran, newer design, but the style, it's US. Chen stared, frozen. Then a new sound cut across the bridge. An incoming hail. Unknown vessel, said a cool, firm voice over the speakers. You have breached the outer perimeter of the Terran Commonwealth Defense Zone. Identify and state your purpose, or you will be treated as hostile. Chen's hands trembled once, then steadied. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth spaceship Indomitable, she said loudly. Terran Defense Command Code Alpha 7, 9 Chen. Returning from deep engagement against Archon forces. Requesting approach vector to Earth. The silence that followed felt longer than it was. The silence that followed felt longer than it was. When the answer came, the voice held something Thren could not name. Not anger, not fear. Something like shock mixed with relief. Indomitable. The voice said slowly, your identification codes are 20,000 years out of date. Your ship was listed as missing in action during the first Archon War. You cannot be who you claim to be. Chen drew in a breath. Put us on visual, she said. A screen flickered to life. On it, a human face appeared. An older woman with silver hair and dark, steady eyes. She wore a uniform with unfamiliar insignia and the simple words, Terran Commonwealth Defense. I am Admiral Sura Quan of the Terran Commonwealth, the woman said. State your crew, complement, and mission result. Chen straightened. Admiral, she said, we launched from Earth 212 years ago by our clock. We engaged Archon positions in sectors Theta, Xi, and Lamed. We destroyed 3 of their control hubs. We lost 8 ships. Then the Indomitable entered a temporal distortion field and was thrown clear of known space. We are now apparently 20,000 years out of date. Admiral Quan's eyes narrowed, then widened just a little. She lifted a hand. The image shifted. For a moment, it showed the Indomitable from an outside view, captured by high-resolution cameras at the edge of the system. Charm marks, old design, exact hull markings. Then the image returned to her face. Your hull matches archive records, she said. Your codes match a pattern we retired 19,000 years ago. Your name matches the ship that left and never came back. She exhaled slowly. Captain Chen, she said, and this time her voice held a new tone, something like wonder. You're late. A low, shaky laugh passed through the Indomitable's bridge, and Thren felt his chest loosen, as if he had been holding a tight band there without knowing it. Admiral Chen said, her eyes suddenly bright. Earth is alive. Yes, Quan said, and hidden by choice. There is much to explain. Her gaze slid past Chen, catching Thren's tall frame. And you've brought a friend, she noted, non-human. Council crest on his collar. Interesting. Thren stepped forward, inclining his head. Ambassador Thren Vilkari of the Galactic Council, he said. Honored to meet you, Admiral Quan, and honored to learn that our records were wrong. I imagine they are wrong about a great deal, Quan said dryly. Ambassador, the Sol system is under full cloak and defense. Your council has not been invited here, yet. For now, you are a guest of Captain Chen's, and thus our guest as well. Do not mistake that for full diplomatic contact. I understand, Thren said. Good, she said. Indomitable. You are cleared for controlled approach. A patrol will escort you to Earth orbit. Expect tight scans. We have waited a long time to see you again. The channel closed. On the main hollow, bright lines flared near the system's edge as sleek modern ships powered up and turned toward them. Their hulls carried the same Terran design language as the Indomitable, but refined and faster, with smooth curves blending into hard edges. Captain Webb said quietly, "We made it." Chen's lips parted. We did. On a small secondary screen, a blue-white planet grew, pixel by pixel, as long-range visual feed focused. Clouds swirled. Oceans shone. Continuance lay in familiar shapes. Earth. Thren stared, hardly breathing. All his life, he had been told that Earth was dead, burned, silent. A ghost used to scare children into behaving. Now he watched a living world turn, wrapped in defenses and technology his council had never even noticed. The Indomitable's engines eased back as escort signals took hold. The ship glided along a narrow, precise path into the heart of humanity's hidden home. On the bridge, no one spoke for a full minute. Then Chen whispered, not to her crew, not to Thren, but to the planet itself. We're back, she said. We're so late, but we're back. Thren let his eyes soften. A dead myth had just become a living neighbor. And somewhere on that blue world, he knew there were people who were about to tell him that Earth's story was not a warning, but a shield that had chosen to hide and grow strong. While the rest of the galaxy slept, the shuttle dropped through cloud. For a moment, all Thren saw out the small window was white and gray, swirling past in thick bands. Then the clouds thinned and the world opened beneath them. Earth, blue spread out in every direction. Wide oceans dotted with white waves, green and brown landmasses curved. Under a pale sky, lines of light traced coasts and cities, bright even in daylight. Thren had seen thousands of worlds. Ice spheres, gas giants, ringed planets with neon skies. But this felt different. This was the world his teachers had called a grave. It was not a grave. Welcome to Geneva region, the shuttle pilot said. Approach vector. Locked. Landing in 2 minutes. Captain Sarah Chen sat 2 seats away, staring through her window without blinking much. Her hands gripped the armrests. Her armor was neat, but old, patched in places. Beside her sat Commander Marcus Webb and Dr. Amara Okonkwo, both in their best uniforms. Across from them, in a row by himself, Thren tried to keep his breathing slow and his body language calm. So this is the part Webb said quietly to Chen, where we meet the people who rebuilt the world without us. Chen gave a short breath that was almost a laugh. Let's hope they like surprises. The shuttle dropped lower. A wide lake came into view, dark and still. Around it, buildings rose in graceful curves and tall, clear towers. Bridges arched over the water. Parks and gardens filled gaps between structures in green and gold. Labels appeared on Thren's wrist display, pulled from the Terran Commonwealth's shared data, Gendiva a Lake Complex. Council, District, P. Science Council. Central Archives. This was once a center for old Earth's diplomacy, Dr. Okonkwo said softly. The United Nations, the early world government. Then the Archons came and turned it into a control hub. Later, it became a key part of the resistance. And now? Thren asked. Now, she said, it's the heart of the Terran Commonwealth. The shuttle aimed for a long, flat landing pad near a broad, low building shaped like a ring. As they neared, Thren saw people waiting outside in a straight line. Security, his mind supplied, and beyond them, officials. The shuttle touched down with a gentle bump. Docking complete, the pilot said. Air is safe. Gravity is standard. You're cleared to disembark. The hatch slid open. Warm air flowed in. carrying new smells. Whetstone, living plants, faint city scents of vehicles and power lines. There was a hint of rain. Chen stood, smoothed the front of her uniform, and turned to her crew. "Last chance to stay on the ship," she said quietly. "This could get strange." Webb snorted. "Captain, we fought psychic slavers and time storms. I think we can handle a meeting." Dr. Okonkwo just gave a small, steady nod. Chen looked at Thren. "Ambassador, ready to meet the people your council wrote off?" "Yes," Thren said, "more than ready." They stepped out together. The light was softer than Zenith Prime station glow. Filtered through thin clouds, the air felt heavy with moisture. The landing pad stretched out under their feet, smooth and dark. A line of humans in sleek uniforms stood at attention near the building entrance. Their armor was lighter than the Indomitable crew's, with bright Terran Commonwealth symbols on the shoulders. Some carried rifles. Others had visible implants along their temples and necks. At the center of the line stood a woman in a plain but finely made suit. No armor, no weapons. She had medium brown skin, gray-streaked hair pulled back, and eyes that watched everything. As Chen and her group approached, the woman stepped forward. "Captain Sarah Chen," she said, her voice clear, carrying across the pad. "On behalf of the Terran Commonwealth, welcome home." Chen stopped a few paces away. "Chancellor?" she asked. "Yes," the woman said. "I am Chancellor Elena Vasquez, current elected head of the Commonwealth. I've read your entire mission file twice since Admiral Kwan. Most of it was tagged lost with ship. It's good to be wrong about that." Chen's mouth tightened, as if she was holding too many feelings at once. "Chancellor Vasquez," she said. "I left an Earth fighting for its mind. I did not think it'd return to find it leading a hidden empire." Vasquez smiled a little at that. "We try not to use the word empire. It makes our neighbors nervous. Commonwealth is tidy enough." Her gaze shifted to Thren. "And you must be Ambassador Thren." "Valkyrie," she said, "from the Galactic Council. The people who decided we were a good story to scare children with." Thren bowed, hands together, palms open. "Chancellor Vasquez, it is an honor, and I offer apology, though I know that is a small thing measured against 20,000 years of silence." Her eyes searched his face, his posture. "You didn't make the choice to ignore us," she said slowly, "but you came here to see if we truly were gone. That counts for something." She gestured toward the building's entrance. "Come inside," she said. "We have much to discuss, and not enough time." As they walked, Thren fell into step beside her. "Chancellor," he said, "you mentioned not enough time. I was told there are incoming fleets." Vasquez's jaw tightened. "Walk with me. I'll show you." The Geneva complex was calm but full of quiet activity. People moved through wide halls, under soft light, some in uniforms, some in plain clothes with visible implants. Holographic screens floated near the ceilings, showing maps, energy readouts, and short bursts of news. Thren noticed that many of the news segments showed the same image. The Indomitable, scarred and ancient, gliding into orbit with modern Terran ships around it. Official captions scrolled under it. Indomitable returns after 20,000 years. Lost Scroll survives temporal distortion humanities. First war reminder comes home. They passed through a security arch. The arch scanned them with a soft hum. A light flashed green. No Archon signatures, a guard said. Brain patterns within human and Valkyrie norms, plus the new Council Ambassador profile. Thren glanced at the guard. You can scan for Archon influence that easily? Easier now than in the old days. Vasquez said, We've had time to learn. They stepped into a circular room with a high ceiling. The far wall was one large screen, showing a view of space between galaxies. Not the bright, crowded disk of the Milky Way, but the dark stretches beyond, where faint points of light marked distant clusters. Over that darkness, sharp symbols glowed. Arrows, lines, and moving shapes. This is our deep sky watch, Vasquez said. We built it from stolen Archon tech and our own sensor work. It looks past the edge of our galaxy, into the space between matter. On the screen, several red icons moved slowly toward the galactic disk. Their labels read UN, Unknown, Mass, Hyperfield, Distortion, PS, High-Kick, Background, Noise, Reasing. Dr. Okonkwo stepped closer. Those patterns, she said, her voice low, are almost identical to the Archon approach during the First War. Their fleets hide behind false gravity signatures until they get closer, then slip free. You've tagged at least 12 major clusters. 17, Vasquez said. 3 still below firm detection, but the math says they're there. Arrival time? Webb asked. Outer galactic halo contact in about 30 standard years, Vasquez answered. Significant pressure on Council-protected space, half a century after that. Full push into the inner arms, a little over 100 years, if they move as they did before. Thren's stomach twisted. Those numbers, he said, voice tight, are sooner than any Council projection for a threat on that scale. We do not even have a word for this in current policy. We have no standing procedure for a galaxy-spanning psychic invasion. Vasquez gave him a sideways look. Then you will need to invent one, quickly. Chen folded her arms, eyes still on the screen. The Archons are coming back, she said quietly. Not just for Earth this time, for everyone. Exactly, Vasquez said. And this time we are not a frightened, divided world with nursery-level tech. We are something they left behind, thinking we were broken. We are not broken. She looked directly at Chen. And as it turns out, we still have the ship that threw a knife at their throat, even if it got lost in time on the way back. Chen's lips twitched. We tried, she said. Didn't expect to be late for round 2. You're just in time, Vasquez said. Come. There's history you need to see before we talk about plans. They moved to a lower level, where the air grew cooler and the light dimmer. This is the archive's spine, Vasquez explained. Every major event in Terran history is recorded down here, including the part where we decided to disappear. The hall ended at a wide door marked with symbols. An old Earth flag, then a newer Terran Commonwealth N. A simple, stylized brain with a breaking chain around it. Vasquez placed her hand on a reader. The door slid open. Inside, a large room held a circular table surrounded by projection pillars. As they entered, the pillars lit up. Images appeared in the air. Layers of Earth's past. A bright, crowded city. Crowds in old-fashioned clothes. Early starships lifting on trails of fire. Then, darker images. Strange ships in the sky. People with blank eyes. Riots in the streets. Archon on arrival, Dr. Okonkwo said softly. An image froze in front of them. An Archon ground unit. It was taller than a human, with long, thin limbs, skin like pale stone, and a head that seemed too smooth. Its eyes were black, without whites. Threads. No, Thren caught himself. He remembered the banned word. Lines of faint light ran along its body, pulsing in time with something unseen. Physical form, Vasquez said. Not the worst part. The next image showed a human strapped to a chair. Eyes closed, head covered by sensors. Waves of colored light moved across a hollow brain. Above, this is one of the first clear captures of Archon network activity in a human mind. Dr. Okonkwo said. They did not like us showing them this, so we had to steal most of the data. The waves rolled in a tight, neat pattern, like someone playing the same tune over and over. Then, at the edge, noise appeared, bright bursts that did not fit the rhythm. That noise, Thren said slowly, is what you showed me on the Indomitable. We thought it was random at first. Bad data. But it showed up in brain scans all over Earth, in people under Archon control, and those they could not reach. Just small, stubborn storms of thought they could not smooth out. Human neural countermeasure, Vasquez said. We did not build it. We did not plan it, but it was there, and the Archons hated it. Images shifted again. Protesters in the streets. People holding signs in dozens of languages. Subtle thoughts are not treason. Our minds, our own, lives not signals. Once we realized our brains had this built-in resistance, we started training it, Dr. Okonkwo said. Meditation, mental drills, collective exercises. Anything to sharpen those noisy fields. The more we did, the harder Archon control became. Did you ever find out why humans have that field? Thren asked. We have theories, Vasquez said. Some say it's just a quirk of our evolution. Others think a very old species may have adjusted us, long before the Archons arrived, to serve as a fail-safe against exactly this kind of mind control. The truth is, we don't know. She gave a dry smile. Doesn't stop people from arguing about it in philosophy classes, though. Another image appeared. The Earth seen from space, wrapped in tight bands of light. Ships burned in orbit, Beam weapons flashed. "The final Archon push," Chen said, voice thin. "We were in this mess when we launched." "Yes," Vasquez said. "Your mission was part of a larger plan. We had two goals: break their control hubs out in space and cut the network on Earth. You went after the external nodes. We used your distraction to rip their grip out of our sky." "How?" Webb asked. "By using the thing they hated most," Vasquez replied. "Human thoughts they couldn't smooth." The projection shifted to a vast underground chamber. Hundreds of people lay on open cots, connected to machines. Above them, a construct of light showed a web of glowing lines. "We built our own network, Dr. Fight Pie," Okonkwo said. "Not with forced control, but with volunteers. We linked minds using tuned Archon hardware and pushed our chaotic fields through their web. It burned. We lost many, but it broke their main channel." Thren watched the hollow as bright lines of human thought crashed into a larger, colder grid. Parts of the bigger web snapped, breaking into loose strands. The Archon command structure collapsed. Vasquez said their ground units went mad or fell limp. Their ships turned into drifting metal. And then the image changed again, showing Archon ships pulling back from the system, vanishing into skip drives, or simply shutting down. "They ran," she finished. "Not everywhere, not at once, but they retreated from Earth. From Sol, from near space. And that was when your council checked in. Dr. Sack Din," Dr. Okonkwo added dryly. "Your probes saw the burned ground and radiation from their temper tantrum as they left, and decided we'd done it to ourselves." Thren closed his eyes briefly. "We looked at a single slice of time," he said, "and wrote the whole story from it. The projection now showed something new. An early version of the giant cloak field around Sol. It looked clumsy at first, then grew smoother as the image sped up. After the war, we could have called for help," Vasquez said. "You had early probes. We could have tried to find friends." "Why didn't you?" Thren asked. "Because we had just fought off a mind control empire," she said. "We were not eager to invite strangers into our heads or our sky. We didn't know who was out there. We didn't know who had ignored us the first time. We only knew this. If the Archons came back, we did not want them to know we were still alive until it was too late for them to adjust. So we hid. We wrapped Sol in a cloak made from Archon tools and our own code. We built defenses in the dark. We reached out very carefully to other hidden colonies like New Kadesh. We shared what we learned. We broadened our net. And you left the rest of the galaxy alone," Thren said. "For a while," Vasquez agreed. "But as we learned more, we realized the Archons hadn't just hurt Earth. They'd carved through multiple arms of the galaxy, left scars everywhere. And your council had no idea who had done it. Images flashed of other worlds, scattered council member planets Thren knew by name, old conflicts, strange mass madness events, sudden collapses. Those incidents," Thren said slowly, "are filed as local crises, civil wars, Resource panics. We never linked them. You never saw the pattern, Dr. Okonkwo said. We did. Because we knew the taste of that particular knife. Vasquez turned to Thren fully, her gaze hard but not cruel. You asked why we didn't contact you, she said. Now tell me, Ambassador, if you had beaten back an enemy that lived in mines, and then you learned the wider galaxy had officially mistaken you for a failed species, would you run to them for help? No, Thren said, honestly. I would wait, watch, and build, exactly, she said. We decided our best chance was to act as a hidden countermeasure. We took apart Archon toys. We rewrote them. We built fleets that could move in and out of their psychic shadow without leaving a clean mark. We trained our brains like muscles. We guided some events from afar, just enough to keep things stable when Archon remnants poked their heads up. Thren's eyes widened. You interfered in council space? Very lightly, Vasquez said. A glitch in a signal here, a lost navigation buoy there, enough to push ships away from sectors where we knew Archon. Residue was still strong. We tried to avoid direct contact. We didn't want to become your secret overlords. We just wanted to keep the worst of the old monster from waking fully. While we got ready, Chen, who had been listening in silence, finally spoke. You turned Earth into a shield, she said. Vasquez's face softened. That was the idea, she said. We had seen what happens when no one stands between that kind of enemy and the rest of the sky. We decided we would never let that happen again if we could help it. But you couldn't protect everyone, Webb said quietly. There were still losses. Yes, Vasquez said, no dodge in her tone. We are not gods. We do what we can. Sometimes it is not enough. Her gaze went back to Thren. And now, she said, the Archons are no longer poking at the edges. They're moving in force. We can't handle this alone. That was true even before your ship arrived. With you here, our plans can change. Thren took a breath. Chancellor, he said, the Council must hear all of this. The Archons, your cloak, your intent. They will not react calmly. You are asking them to accept that the dead world they used as a warning poster has been quietly guarding them for ages. I am not asking them for gratitude, she said. I am asking them to help us fight. Your council has resources. We do not. We have tools and knowledge. You do not. We either put them together, or the Archons will pull them apart for us. Chen shifted her weight. Chancellor, she said, before we talk about the council, I need to ask something more personal. Vasquez nodded once. Ask. Chen's voice grew tight. What happened to the families of my crew? To the people we left behind? Our mission file listed names. Did anyone remember us? Vasquez's eyes warmed. Come, she said. Some answers must be seen, not told. They moved through another corridor and into a quieter chamber. It was a long hall lined with tall, narrow lights and plaques. Names covered the walls in small, neat rows. Some plaques showed old photographs. Others held short hollow clips. Faces, laughs, brief words. At first, Vasquez said, this hall was for those we lost in the First Archon War. Over time, it became a place to mark anyone who vanished far from home. Your ship has its own section. She led them to a side wing. There, under a sign that read, Indomitable Crew. Missing in action, hundreds of names glowed softly. Each had a tiny symbol next to it. A star, a wave, a leaf, a gear, a book, personal marks chosen by families or by the people themselves before they left. Chen stepped forward, fingers trembling. Her own name was there. So were Webb's, Dr. Okonkwo's, and many more. Beside each name, a short line. Sarah Chen Captain, still fighting Marcus Gweb first. Officer never surrender, Amara Oko Konktuo. Healer light in darkness Chen stared. We were remembered, she said, voice barely above a whisper. Not as failures, not as fools. Not as fools. You believed we were still out there. Vasquez nodded. Some did. Enough did. We have a tradition. When someone goes missing in war, we do not write dead next to their name. We write what we know of their heart. That way, if they never return, the story we keep is who they were, not how they vanished. Dr. Okonkwo wiped at her face. Webb cleared his throat roughly. Thren felt something twist in his own chest. In the council archives, he said quietly, your names do not appear at all. You were just numbers under lost Terran warship. I am ashamed of that. Deeply, Chen looked back at him, eyes wet, but steady. You didn't know us, she said. Now you do. The question is, what you'll do with that Vasquez. Let them stand there for a while, letting the weight of the past settle. Then she said, we have 2 more stops before we contact your council. Ambassador, the Science Conclave, and then the Secure Comms Chamber. Ready? Friend nodded. As ready as I can be. The Science Conclave sat in a cluster of sleek towers connected by glass bridges. No ship. Inside, the air hummed with quiet energy. People in lab coats or smart fabrics moved between stations. Screens showed equations, star maps, and simulated brain activity. They were met by a tall person with dark skin and bright eyes, wearing a simple badge that read, Elean Matsumoto, Archon Systems. Chancellor, Dr. Matsumoto said, bowing slightly. And guests, I've been eager to meet the crew that gave us quite a lot of homework. Shen raised an eyebrow. Homework? Your old mission logs, Matsumoto said. The raw battle data from your Archon engagements is a treasure. We've waited a long time to see how your generation fought them up close. They moved into a central lab area. At its heart stood a large structure like a metal ring, with a complex web of light in the middle. Cables ran from it to the walls, the floor, and several nearby consoles. This is our Archon network simulator, Dr. Matsumoto said. Built from captured hardware and rebuilt code. It lets us model their psychic web without actually tying into their live system. Thren frowned. Is that safe? Safer than not understanding it? Matsumoto said briskly. But yes, we have many safety layers. Now signal, if anything even slightly matches an external Archon signal, the whole thing jumps to isolated mode and cuts itself off. Dr. Okonkwo hovered near the ring. Eyes sharp. You've advanced this since my time, she said. We only had crude models. We had 20,000 years, Matsumoto said. You laid the first stones. We built towers on them. They gestured, and the web inside the ring lit up. Lines and nodes pulsed like a living ocean. Tiny icons moved along the paths, representing thoughts, commands, and sensations. This is a simplified model of a mid-scale Archon control net, Matsumoto said. We use it to test countermeasures, neural noise injections, signal scrambling, cognitive decoys. Thren watched, fascinated and uneasy. And this, Matsumoto continued, is where humans become very interesting. They tap to control. A new set of lines appeared on the hollow. They writhed slightly, drifting in and out of sync with the main grid. Human neural fields, Dr. Schechter, Okonkwo said. That's us. At first, we thought this would just gum up the works, Matsumoto said, and it does. But it does more. Watch. They increased the human field input. The Archon grid flickered. Some lines bent out of their straight paths and curled toward the messy human signals like metal shavings to a magnet. Nodes that had been calm began to flash in irregular patterns. Human brains don't just resist control, Matsumoto said. They tug at it, pull it toward themselves. And when they're linked together with consent-based tech, they don't form a simple copy of the Archon net. They form something different. The human field in the hollow suddenly rearranged, forming clusters that lit up and dimmed in a regular but flexible rhythm. The Archon grid, still trying to run over them, lost its smoothness. Its patterns broke into smaller, more scattered packets. It looks like you are turning their whip into more of a question, Thren said slowly. Matsumoto smiled. Good way to put it. We think under the right conditions, humans can take control of parts of the Archon net and turn commands into choices. Chen's eyes narrowed. Conditions like what? Matsumoto hesitated, then looked at Vasquez. The Chancellor gave a slight nod. We've been running scenarios, Matsumoto said. One of the most promising involves a trained human operator entering the Archon field directly, using a hard interface, someone with combat experience, strong will, and deep neural resistance. Someone like you, Captain. They finished. The room went quiet. Chen stared at the swirling web in the ring. You want me to plug my brain into that? She asked, on purpose. We spent years trying not to let Archons into our heads, and now you're asking me to jump into their pool. Yes, Matsumoto said bluntly, because they are coming back with more ships than we have guns, and more minds than we have pilots. Because our best models show that breaking their net from the outside will not be enough. And because someone has to go inside and light a fire, Dr. Okonkwo's jaw tightened. You are talking about suicide. Not if we do it right, Matsumoto said. We've built better cutoffs, better shields. We can yank an operator out if things go wrong. Or we fry them, Webb muttered. Vasquez stepped in. This is not a decision we make today, she said. And not without Captain Chen's full consent. For now, all you need to know is this. Human brains are not just resistant. They are shaped by chance or design to act as a kind of counter-signal to the Archons. You are, as a species, a natural weapon they did not intend to create. A weapon, Thren repeated softly. Or a shield, Vasquez said. Depends who holds the handle. Chen's eyes stayed on the ring. What happens to an operator after they go in? She asked quietly. Matsumoto hesitated. Our long-term live trials are limited. The few volunteers we used, they took a slow breath. They came back, changed, more aware, like their sense of self had stretched. Stretched how? Thren asked P. They reported feeling connected to more than their own body, Matsumoto said. Sensing minds like distant lights. A wider presence, Dr. Okonkwo murmured. Like what our early volunteers felt when we built the first human network only. Sustained. Shen's shoulders squared. If it helps stop the Archons, she said, it's worth thinking about. But I'm not promising anything yet. Good, Vasquez said. We are not asking for promises in this room, only understanding. She turned to Thren. You see now why we cannot face this alone, she said. We have some of the pieces. You have others. Your council commands fleets and resources across thousands of systems. They will be targets. They deserve to know what is coming, and they must decide if they trust a hidden Earth that trained itself to fight in the dark, Thren said. Exactly, Vasquez said. Let's give them something real to react to. The secure comms chamber lay deep under the Geneva complex, shielded by layers of rock and energy fields. It was a round room with a single central platform. Around it, tall transmitters stood like silver trees, their branches ending in small, constantly shifting crystals. This system uses both conventional and non-local communication channels, Vasquez explained. It will tie directly into your council network, Ambassador, with no relay in between. We want no chance for editing. Understood, Thren said. He stepped onto the platform. Chen, Webb, Dr. Wa, Okonkwo, Matsumoto, and Vasquez stood around the edge. Zenith Prime is waiting for an update, Thren said. They have been sending requests since we crossed your cloak. Let's not keep them guessing, Vasquez said. Initiate link. The crystals above them brightened. A low vibration ran through the floor. Thren felt a faint tingling at the base of his skull as the system matched his neural signature to his secure council channel. Then a familiar voice filled the room. Ambassador Valkyrie, Speaker Jarketh said, we are receiving your signal. Your last report indicated unexpected findings in the Sol system. Please clarify. A hollow projection shimmered in the air. Jarketh's rough, stone-like face, surrounded by a ghost image of the council chamber on Zenith Prime, Thren straightened. "Speaker Jarketh," he said, "members of the council, I am transmitting from the surface of Earth." A murmur rose in the background of the chamber on Zenith Prime. Several councilors leaned forward in their seats. "From Earth," Jarketh repeated slowly. "Ambassador, our records." "Your records are wrong," Vasquez said, stepping into view. With respect, Jarketh blinked, focusing on her. "And you are?" he asked. "Chancellor Elena Vasquez," she said, "elected leader of the Terran Commonwealth. The living government of the living planet, your records mark as dead." Silence, even through the filtered connection. Thren could feel the shock rolling through the council chamber. At this time, Vasquez went on, "We are choosing to drop our cloak enough for you to see what your probes failed to notice." Linking visual. The secure system fed a series of images back to Zenith Prime. The Sol system full of stations and defenses. The blue curve of Earth. The Genov complex. The lab with the Archon simulator. The memorial hall. By every star, someone on the council whispered. "Ambassador Valkyrie," Jarketh said slowly, "did you know of this before today?" Nothrin said, "I came here believing Earth was a grave. I stand corrected." Vasquez folded her arms. "Speaker Jarketh," she said, "let's keep this simple. You thought we destroyed ourselves. We did not. We were invaded by a psychic empire called the Archons. We fought them. We broke their control on our world. We hid, using their own tools. We have watched the galaxy ever since. And now the Archons are coming back, in numbers you are not prepared for." A counselor snapped from off-screen. "A hidden power appears, claims to have been protecting us in secret, and tells us a children's tale of mind monsters." Dr. Okonkwo stepped into view. "Counselor," she said calmly, "do you recall the incident 10,000 years ago in the Kavar sector? The one recorded as mass hysteria event 19C. The counselor frowned. Of course. Of course, a whole planet fell into violent madness. We quarantined it. The cause was never confirmed. Dr. Okonkwo sent a data file through the channel. Hollow charts appeared beside Jarketh. Brainwave patterns, environmental scans, faint psychic signatures. That was a partial Archon test, she said. We were able to dull it from a distance, but we did not have the reach for a full cure. Your own question marks are in your files. You just did not know what shape to draw around them. Doubt, fear, anger at being kept in the dark, shame at not seeing patterns that were now clear. Jarketh held up a hand. Let us assume your story is true, he said slowly, that there is a hidden enemy and that you have been fighting unseen. Why come forward now? Because hiding is no longer enough. Vasquez said, they are coming in force. Terra can blunt them. We cannot stop them alone. Neither can you. Together, we might do both. You are asking for alliance, Jarketh said, between the Council and a power that has not signed our charter, has not shared our laws, and has been acting without our knowledge for millennia. Yes, Vasquez said. You can argue about the insult of that later. Right now, we have a shared problem with a sharp deadline. Frun spoke up. Speaker, he said, I have seen their data. I have walked their halls. This is not a trick. We have been living under a shield we did not know was there. We made choices based on bad stories. We must correct them. You seem quite taken with these humans, Ambassador, another counselor said suspiciously. I am taken with facts, Thren replied. The fact is, they survived a kind of war we have never had to face. The fact is, they hold tools and knowledge that match holes in our history. The fact is, the Archons are moving toward our space, and Earth has been studying their return for longer than we have been a council. Jarketh rubbed at his forehead. What exactly do you propose? He asked. Vasquez glanced at Chen, then at Thren. A phased alliance, Vasquez said, step by step. First, data sharing on Archon behavior, psychic networks, and hidden incidents in Council space. Second, joint training. Your ships learning our countermeasures. Our people learning your logistics and response systems. Third, a combined fleet with shared command to meet the first Archon vanguards in deep space before they can tear into your outer worlds. And in return, Jarketh asked, what do you want from us? Open recognition that Earth lives, she said. A seat at your table when decisions about this war are made. And a promise, no more writing off whole systems based on lazy scans and old assumptions. Thren's stripes darkened in shame, then eased as Jarketh met his eyes for a moment. That last part, Jarketh said, we owe you regardless of this alliance. He turned back to Vasquez. Your shield cut us off from you, he said. It also cut you off from us. There will be counselors who will not forgive that easily. There will be debates, but the threat you describe, we cannot ignore it. He took a deep breath. I will call an emergency session of the full council, he said. Ambassador Valkyrie will remain on Earth as our representative. Captain Chen, he inclined his head toward her. And your scientists will share immediate critical data with our defense branches. We cannot promise full alliance before the debate, but we can begin with knowledge. If your Archons are real, we will see them in our own records once we know what to look for. That is a reasonable start, Vasquez said. And if this is a trick, the doubtful counselor muttered. Then we will know soon enough, Jarketh said sharply. But if it is not, and we waste time arguing pride while a storm gathers, history will not be kind. He looked at Thren again. Ambassador, he said, you wish to fix old mistakes. Consider this your chance. You will speak for us there. Make sure they understand that we are not ungrateful children being scolded. We are partners being warned. I will, Thren said. We will contact you within 3 standard days with the Council's first ruling, Jarketh said. Until then, learn all you can. And stay alive. The link cut, the crystals dimmed. The humming faded. For a moment, the room was very quiet. Then Webb let out a long breath. Well, he said, that could have gone worse, could have gone better, Dr. Okonkwo said. They didn't hang up, Vasquez said. That's more than I expected. Chen looked from Vasquez to Thren. So now what? She asked. Now, Vasquez said, we prepare. For Archons, for council envoys, for the fact that, very soon, the rest of the galaxy will know that Earth did not die, when they thought it did. She looked up as if through the ceiling, through the ground, through the sky itself. For 20,000 years, she said, we have been a weapon they forgot about. We chose to turn ourselves into a shield instead. Now we have to prove that choice was right. Thren felt a strange, steady calm settle over him. History was changing shape under his feet. The bedtime story of a failed world was cracking open, and something fierce and careful was stepping out. He thought of children on distant council worlds, sitting in darkened rooms, listening to lessons about Earth, the dead planet. He pictured those lessons replaced with something else. Not, this is what happens when you fail, but this is what happens when you refuse to give up. He turned to Chen, Webb, and Dr. Okonkwo. You came home, he said. Late, but home. And the galaxy is going to need you. Chen met his gaze. Then she said, Wed, better make sure home is ready. The first warning came as a low tone in the Indomitable's command center. Amber lights flared along the ceiling. Status panels shifted from calm blue to urgent red. On the main hollow, a far-edge council colony, Virelia, zoomed into view. Archon Cact, said the duty officer, voice tight. Sector map confirms. Multiple mass signatures. Psychic noise off the charts. Captain Sarah Chen was already moving, boots ringing on the deck. How long? She asked. Initial wave arrives in system in 3 hours by their skip profile, the officer said. Colony defense grid is spooling up. Council patrols on site. But, he swallowed, they're outmatched. Thren Velkari stood near the back of the room, his stripes pale. He had been on Earth for weeks, learning and sharing. While the council argued and slowly, carefully, moved toward alliance, there had been meetings, plans, joint drills. Now, there was no more time. On the holo, red icons spread like a stain. Across the black, Virelia's small sun burned in the center. The world itself glowed as a blue-green sphere, ringed by a modest band of stations and ships. Admiral Quan is patching through. A comms tech called, the screen split. Admiral Sarah Quan's lined face appeared, sharp and focused. Indomitable, we have authorization, she said without preamble. Terran Commonwealth fleets and Council rapid response are cleared for joint action. First test of our alliance, such as it is. Rules of engagement? Chen asked. Protect Virelia, Quan said. Minimize Council casualties where possible. Gather data on Archon new behavior, and if an opening appears to hit one of their command ships, she paused. Take it. On another part of the screen, the Galactic Council's emblem appeared, followed by Speaker Jarkath's image. Captain Chen, he said, Ambassador Valkyrie. Earth's data has convinced enough of us. The Council cannot move at full speed yet, but we can move. Task Forces 7 and 9 are redirecting to support Fiorelia. We will fight beside you. Thren felt something in his chest loosen. It was not full trust yet, but it was a start. We will not let them stand alone, Chen said. Send us the local map. It appeared. Virelia's orbit, its stations, its council patrol ships. Red lines showed Archon approach vectors. How fast can we get there? She asked. Using the new Terran skip nodes and your old drive together, Quan said. 37 minutes from my battle group's current position. Indomitable can ride the same path if you let our navigators feed your jump. Chen nodded. Do it. Alert all hands. Battle stations. The alarm klaxon sounded across the ship. All hands. This is the captain. Chen's voice echoed through every corridor. We are going into combat alongside Earth's new fleet and the Galactic Council. Virelia is under attack. This is what we trained for. This is why we came back. To our stations. Thren felt the ship wake fully around him. Crew members ran, not in panic, but in practiced motion, doors sealed, bulkheads locked, weapons powered up. The old warship's bones hummed as if pleased to be doing what it had been built to do. He joined Chen on the bridge. Ambassador, she said, eyes on the tactical hollow. You'll liaise with council ships. They'll trust your voice more than mine when the sky gets strange. I'll do what I can, Thren said. Dr. Okonkwo, Chen called. Status on neural defenses. The doctor's voice came from the med bay over the common. Our dampers are live, she said. We've tuned the human crew for maximum counterfield output. The Valkyrie and other non-humans aboard have portable shield rigs. They should block most direct Archon pushes, but stay away from open sensor feeds if things get loud. Understood, Thren said. Marcus Webb stood at the tactical station. Fingers flying. Link established with Terran Commonwealth Battle Group Aegis, he said. Also receiving council channels. Some of their captains are skeptical, but they're listening. Put us on with both, Chen said. 2 new faces appeared on side panels. Admiral Quan and a blue-skinned council fleet commander named Reith Tao. Captain Chen, Reth said, studying her. I never thought I'd be taking orders from a legend in an old school case study. You're not taking orders from me, Chen said. You're fighting for your people. I'm just here with more scars than most. We need a clean formation. Archon fleets like to split targets. We've studied Earth's data, Reth said. Well, form a layered screen around Virelia. Council ships form the outer ring. Terran ships in the inner ring where psychic pressure will be worst. Your human crews can stay clearer under the network. Agreed, Quan said. Indomitable will anchor the inner ring and act as a relay. Chen nodded. We'll draw heat. We're good at that. The navigators signaled ready. Jump in 3, 2, 1, Webb called. Space twisted. The Indomitable's old drive merged with the sharp, precise pull of Terran skip nodes. Stars smeared, then snapped back into clear points. The Aurelia hung ahead of them, its blue-green curve partly lit by its star. Around it, chaos had begun. Archon ships slid out of twisted space like knives from dark cloth. They were long and smooth, their surfaces shifting strangely, as if half their mass was somewhere else. Faint halos of light flickered around them in patterns that made Thren's eyes ache. "Contact," Webb said, counting 43 major Archon hulls, hundreds of smaller parasites. Their psychic field is already brushing the colony's outer grid. On the other side of the planet, Council ships burned hard to form a line. Sleek cruisers and heavy carriers moved into place. Their hulls shone with familiar colors and crests. Terran ships arrived in tight groups, sliding into the inner formation like well-fit gears. They were fast, sharp, with layered armor and odd sensor arrays meant to cut and twist psychic lines. All friendlies. This is Captain Chen of the Indomitable. When the Archons fire up their network, some of you will feel wrong. You may hear voices, see things, doubt your own orders. If that happens, remember this: they are lying. Anchor yourself to your crewmates, to your ship, to your own heartbeat. We're tying Terran counterfields into the grid, but you have to hold the line from inside your own heads. There was a brief silence, then Reth's voice came over the net. "You heard her," the Council commander said. "We trained for strange. This is stranger. Stay tight. Stay in formation." On screen, the lead Archon ship brightened. Okonkwo reported, "We're at the edge of their net now." Human crew showing increased brain activity in the counterbands. Non-human crew, some strain, but holding. Thren felt it like a pressure at the back of his skull. Not a sound, but like someone leaning on his thoughts. A faint suggestion. Relax, let go, stop worrying. It smelled in his mind like false comfort. His collar vibrated gently, flooding his nerves with a carefully tuned signal from the Terran dampers. The pressure eased. "Here we go," Webb said. Beams of strange light shot out, not visible in a normal spectrum, but clear on the scopes. Where they touched Council ships, some lights flickered. Helm corrections drifted. A few vessels wobbled out of position, then snapped back as their captains fought for control. On the inner ring, Terran ships flared their counterfields. Human brains burned bright in the readings, chaos waves pushing against the Archon net. "Look at that," Matsumoto's voice came over a secondary line from a science vessel. "Our people's neural noise is bending their control attempts. Their beams are less steady." "Indomitable, you're up," Quan said. "Target their control hubs," Chen snapped. "Not just hulls. Hit anything that looks like a mind amplifier." The Indomitable's old guns spoke. They were not as elegant as modern weapons, but they were brutally effective. Massive kinetic rounds tore through the void, guided by updated targeting code. Heavy energy beams lanced out, striking an Archon cruiser in its glowing midsection. The Archon ship twisted, parts of it sliding out of alignment like bad reflections. Then it broke apart. pieces burning, Terran ships followed, firing smart munitions tuned to disrupt both matter and energy. Council vessels added their own beams and drives, slamming into the Archon line with more force than it had expected. For a few minutes, the battle held. Then the Archons pushed harder. Field intensity climbing, Dr. Okonkwo called. They're forcing the net, trying to override our dampers. Thren's vision blurred. For a second, he was not on the Indomitable. He was standing on Virelia's surface, looking up at a sky full of strange stars. Then, on Zenith Prime, hearing Jarkith's voice twisted into a hiss. Anchor, he told himself aloud. This is noise. This is theirs, not mine. The dampers adjusted. The images snapped away. On the tactical holo, some Council ships were not so lucky. 2 cruisers turned slowly, firing at their own formation. Their captains shouted over the net, voices full of horror. We're losing them, Reth said, teeth clenched. Human boarding teams are ready, Quan said. We can send them to stabilize key Council hulls, but we can't be everywhere. On the Archon side, 3 larger ships glowed brighter than the rest. Their psychic output spiked. Those are control anchors, Matsumoto said. We hit those. Their net wobbles, but they're heavily guarded. One of the anchors fired a single, invisible wave. A Council carrier's lights went dark, then flared sickly. It turned heavy guns lining up on the planet. No, Thrun breathed. Terran teams to carrier C-12, Quan ordered. Now, smaller Terran dropships peeled off, racing toward the struggling carrier. On the Indomitable, alarms flashed. Archon signal spike incoming. Dr. Okonkwo shouted, they're targeting our bridge. They don't like that we're messing up their rhythm. The pressure in Thren's head turned into a sharp stab. Voices that were not his own flooded in. Voices that were not his own flooded in. Commands in a language H is translator twisted into simple shapes. Sleep. Drop. Summoned it. Human crew members around him gritted their teeth, some clutching consoles hard enough to blanch their knuckles. Their brained scans on Dr. Okonkwo's panel lit up like storms. We're still here, Webb ground out. They'll have to do better. Father Fizz, Shakok, Weh, State, Stock, Captain Matsumoto's voice chimed in. Taut but excited. The more they push, the more your crews, counterfields sync up. It's like your minds are linking without hardware. In English, Chen snapped. In simple terms, Matsumoto said, your people are starting to behave like a small, self-built network. One they own, not the Archons. It's leaking into our barrier projectors. When you fire, you're not just hitting them with matter and light. You're hitting them with a pattern their system hates. Chen's eyes narrowed. Can we turn that up? She asked. Not safely, Matsumoto said. Not from outside, but they hesitated. Say it, Chen said, but if someone went inside their net, as we discussed, and carried our pattern with them, Matsumoto finished, they could break more than just this fleet. Forever one tied into it. Forever. The bridge went very quiet. Only the sounds of battle filled the air. Sensor pings, weapons, discharge reports, shouted course corrections. Weapons discharge reports, shouted course corrections. Chen looked at the hollow of the Archon control anchors. Their psychic glow pulsed like malignant stars. If we don't stop them here, she said slowly, Virialia burns. Then the next world, then the next arm. We'll be fighting them piece by piece until we run out of pieces. Thren understood what she was thinking before she said it. Captain, he said, this is not your burden alone. There must be another way. You've seen the numbers. Ambassador, she replied, we can win this battle. Maybe the next, but we won't win the war by just shooting from the outside. They built their power in mines. We have to break it there. Webb's jaw clenched. Sarah, she turned to him. For a moment, she was not the captain, just his old friend, worn by years, and then by 20,000 years, stolen in a blink. If it has to be someone, she said softly, it should be someone who remembers the first time. Someone who knows what we're fighting. And if you don't come back, Webb asked. Doctor. Okonkwo stepped closer, face tight. We've improved the cutoffs, she said. We can build you a path home. But I won't lie. The risk is extreme. Chen gave a crooked half smile. Since when have we been in the business of easy odds? Thren moved forward. Captain, he said, voice rough, I crossed time to meet you. I do not want to see you vanish into a machine. She looked at him with something like sympathy. You came to correct a story, she said. You can still do that. Live, tell them we were more than a warning. That matters. She turned to the calm Matsumoto. She said, prep the interface rig, tie it into our best dampers and your newest failsafes. I'm coming over. I can bring a portable node to you, Matsumoto said. We've tested it in the field. It will link into your bridge systems. You don't have to leave. That's better, Chen said. Do it. On our way, Matsumoto replied. She cut the line and faced her crew. Marcus, you have the con for external operations, she said. Keep shooting, keep the formation tight. Amara, you monitor my link. If you see my mind slip, you hit the emergency pull. Don't hesitate. I'd rather come back screaming than not at all. Webb swallowed. Aye, Captain. Doctor. Okonkwo's eyes shone. You better come back at all, she murmured. Thren felt helpless for a moment. Then he straightened. Let me stay on the line, he said. I cannot share your neural load, but I can talk. Remind you who you are. If the Archons try to rewrite it. Chen gave him a small, grateful nod. I'd like that, she said. Minutes later, Matsumoto arrived with a portable interface, a smooth silver frame that fit around the captain's chair, studded with sensors and faint, humming crystals. This links to the Archon sim on my ship, they said, setting it up quickly. From there, we connect to the live net through the battlefield. It's like stepping from a safe practice room into a live storm, but with safety lines tied to both. Reassuring, Chen said dryly. But she sat, Matsumoto attached thin contact pads to her temples, the back of her neck, her forearms. Dr. Okonkwo double-checked each one. Jaw clenched hard. "Well, ramp slowly," Matsumoto said. "Once you're in, don't try to fight every signal. You'll burn out. Look for patterns. Look for knots in the grid. And remember, your mind tends to turn commands into questions. Use that. Ask the network why. Ask it who else is connected." Questions spread like cracks. "Got it," Chen said. "Let's do this." Matsumoto stepped back. Engaging local link, they said. The pads warmed on Chen's skin. Her eyes fluttered, then steadied. "I'm in the sim," she said. "Feels like static. Far-off waves. Push it." Opening the live channel, Matsumoto said, 3, 2, 1. The bridge seemed to flicker for Chen, though nothing moved. Suddenly, she was not just on the Indomitable. She was standing in a vast, dark space filled with glowing lines. They stretched in every direction, nodes pulsing where they crossed. Thoughts moved along them like tiny sparks, commands, fears, blank states of obedience. "This is their net," Chen said aloud. Her voice echoed both in her own head and over the ship's speakers. Matsumoto's calm tone came through her earbud. "Correct," they said. "We're focusing your view on the part of the network tied to this fleet and nearby systems. Don't stray too far yet." Thrin's voice followed, steady and soft. "Remember who you are, Captain," he said. "Sarah Chen, born on a living earth, fought for its mind. You came through time. You are not theirs." The Archon presence pressed close. Chen felt it as an endless, cold will, pushing through the lines. It tried to smooth her into a neat path, to turn her into one more obedient node. She let it press. Then she asked a question, not in words, but as a shape in her mind. "Why?" The pressure stuttered. In the glowing web, a few lines near her flickered off-beat. She pushed a little more. "Why this command? Why this target? Why silence them?" More lines wavered. Humans, Matsumoto had said, turned commands into questions. Their brains could not help it. They always looked for why. "Spread it," Chen whispered. "Come on." She took the question and split it, threw it like sparks along the nearest paths. "Who are you? Who are they? Do you want this? Somewhere far away in the net?" She felt small minds pause. There were other species tied into the Archon system. Taken long ago, their will smothered. Under the smooth shell of obedience, tiny doubts had always lurked. The Archons had tried to sand them away. Now Chen's questions brushed those doubts and made them ring. On the bridge, Dr. Okonkwo gasped. "Brainwave spikes across multiple Archon-tied species," she said. "We're seeing spontaneous pattern shifts. Some ground units are cost. Some ground units are cost pain. Some ground units are cost D." Stopping mid-move. On the main hollow, a few of the parasite ships around the Archon, anchors staggered. Their attack paths drifted. "What's she doing?" Webb asked. Turning their orders into a debate, Matsumoto said, awe in their voice. In the net, the main Archon will noticed her. It turned, an immense attention bearing down on her like a star's heat. "Stop." It pushed. "You are out of line." Chen almost laughed. "Story of my life," she muttered. It pushed harder, trying to crush her sense of self, to smooth her into a straight beam. She let her human chaos field flare, not as noise, but as identity. "I am Sarah Chen," she thought clearly. "I am not your tool. Neither are they." She reached out along the lines that carried her questions and brightened them, showing flashes of memories. Humans breaking chains, other species resisting control. Moments of choice. On the battlefield, more Archon-afflicted ships stuttered. Some turned their weapons away. A few even fired on their own anchors. Tiny acts of rebellion. Wreath shouted over the net. "Some of their ships are hitting their own. Push now. Terran fleet. Concentrate on the wavering hulls." Quan ordered break their anchors while they're distracted. Indomitable's guns roared again. Terran and Council weapons followed, slamming into the pivot points of the Archon formation. One of the glowing anchor ships cracked, its psychic light flaring, then going dark. The pressure in every one's heads dropped sharply. In the net, the Archon was shrieked, not in sound, but as a pattern of rage and fear. It lashed at Chen. Pain flared behind her eyes. For a second, the lines blurred. Her own name slipped at the edge of her mind. Sarah Thren's voice rang, clear and close. "Remember your ship. Remember Earth. The lake at Geneva. The hall with your name on it. People who waited for you." Images bloomed in her thoughts. Jennifer's shining towers, New Cadiz dusty fields, the memorial plaque with "Never Surrender" beside her name. She grabbed them like anchors. "I'm still here," she gritted out. "You're not the only one who can build nets." She stopped trying to fight the Archon field alone. Instead, she opened. She let her mind brush against the human crew's linked pattern, then beyond. Through the extensions of Terran tech, she felt hundreds of minds. Her crew, other Terran captains, hidden operators on Earth. They all carried the same stubborn note. "I am myself. I choose." With Matsumoto's help, she threaded that note into the Archon grid. The human pattern spread, not as a forced command, but as a question and an option. You can choose. In dozens of places across the net, something snapped. On the battlefield, parasite ships went limp or turned. Ground units on Varielia dropped weapons or moved to shield civilians. Instead of harm them, the control pulses the Archon sent became less smooth. Their whips had turns in them. They're losing their grip. Okonkwo cried, "This isn't just here. Sensors are picking up shifts along the Archon background in nearby sectors. Whatever she's doing, it's echoing, sorry, spreading. The main Archon will try one last tactic. It tried to pull Chen in fully. Not crush her, not erase her, but swallow her. Make her a smooth, clever tool it could use to patch the cracks. Become purpose. It pressed. Lose pain. 4. Shift. Be hard. Tiredness pulled at her bones. Part of her wanted to rest, to stop carrying weight, to let go into the straight, simple lines. But she thought of the wall of names under Geneva, of families who had ridden, still fighting by lost loved ones. A 5-year-old Thren, hearing about Earth, the failed world, and feeling something was wrong with that neat ending. We are not your tools, she thought back, fierce even in exhaustion. We are not your weapons. We choose to be shields. We choose. The human pattern surged. Around her, in the net, other minds flickered in agreement. Old captives who had been half awake for centuries, new victims whose chains had never quite fit. We choose. Faint voices echoed. The Archon net shivered. Lines broke, not in a crash, but in 1,000 small splits. The great cold will that had ridden them could no longer move as a single mass. It staggered, forced to divide attention, to listen to unwanted questions in every corner. On the hollow, 2 more anchor ships exploded under combined Terran and Council fire. The remaining Archon vessels began to scatter, some retreating, some spinning aimlessly, their connection frayed. Pull her out, Webb shouted. Webb shouted. Now, not yet, Chen murmured. Just a bit more. Her sense of self stretched thin. The interface hummed hot against her skin. Dr. Okonkwo's hands hovered over the emergency cot. Sarah, Thren said softly, desperately, calm. You did it. Look, he fed a filtered view of the battlefield into her channel. Virelia holding. Council ships regaining control. Terran ships moving like a bright, flexible wall between the enemy and the planet. You changed the story, he said. You don't have to carry the whole book. She smiled weakly. Fine, she thought. Have it your way. Now, Doctor, Okonkwo shouted. She hit the emergency cut. Pain like torn fabric ripped through Chen's mind. Then everything went black. When she woke, she was lying in the Indomitable's medbay. The ceiling above her was familiar. Old metal, newer patches, a slight stain from a long-ago leak. Dr. Okonkwo leaned over her. Hey, stranger, the doctor said. Back from your walk in the mental storm? Chen's throat felt dry. Water, she croaked. A straw touched her lips. She drank, then coughed. Status, she rasped. Virelia stands, Dr. Okonkwo said. Archon fleet is scattered. Many of their units are confused. Some simply left, some surrendered, if you can believe that word for beings who don't like the idea of no. Chen blinked. Surrendered how? Okonkwo said. Turned off weapons. Scent signals were still decoding. The important part is, they're not killing anyone. For now. Thren stepped into view, stripes glowing softly. You were unconscious for 14 hours. The council has been calling non-stop. Told them to wait, Dr. Okonkwo said firmly. Captain's brain outranks bureaucracy. Can't argue with that, Chen muttered. She pushed herself up slowly. Her head throbbed, but her thoughts were clear enough. What about the Archon net? Overall, she asked. Did it change? Thren nodded slowly. Matsumoto and the Terran science teams, along with council analysts, have been watching the wider pattern, he said. The Archon background field is different, less uniform. We are picking up pockets where their control has weakened. Ships and planets they held are waking up. Chen let that sink in. So we didn't destroy them, she said. Broke their whip. You did more than that, Doctor, Okonkwo said. You changed what the net is. You added choice into its base pattern. Our models say it cannot go back to how it was before, not without tearing itself apart. Some Archons will adapt, Thren added. Some will try to rebuild a smaller, tighter control zone, but they can no longer turn entire sectors into silent puppets with a single thought. They will have to talk, bargain, face minds that say no. Chen leaned back against the pillow, exhausted but strangely peaceful. So she said, we turned their empire into a very loud town hall. Dr. Okonkwo laughed once. That's one way to put it. The med bay door slid open. Chancellor Vasquez stepped in, followed by a hollow projection of Speaker Jarkath from Zenith Prime. I hope this is not a bad time, Vasquez said. You look mostly alive, Captain. Feels like I got run over by a psychic stampede, Chen said. Otherwise fine. What's the verdict from upstairs? Jarkath's rough face looked unusually open. Captain Chen, he said, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I want to say this plainly. We were wrong about Earth. Deeply wrong. And about you. He took a breath. The Council has voted to formalize a full alliance with the Terran Commonwealth, he said. Shared research, shared fleet commands in Archon-threatened sectors, and a permanent Earth seat in the Council chamber. No more bedtime stories about a failed world. Vasquez smiled faintly. Welcome to the table, she said. You might find our questions pointed. We deserve them. Jarkath said, if we had looked closer long ago, perhaps some of this pain could have been spared. Perhaps, Vasquez said, that's the past. We have a present to manage. She turned to Chen. You, she said, have become something my science people are still arguing about how to name. Chen frowned. Name. Matsumoto's voice sounded over the comm. We've been monitoring your neural signature since the disconnect, they said. It's unusual. Part of your mind is still out there. In the network, but not trapped. More like standing on a hill, watching many valleys. Dr. Okonkwo nodded. Your body is here. Your self is here. But a part of you is also spread. A constant presence in the Archon modified net. Chen stared at them. Still in their system?" she asked. In its new form, Matsumoto said, "Think of it like a guardian process. You left an imprint. A pattern that continues to ask questions and open doors for minds trying to wake up. Some of the liberated ships and planets are reporting, approaching again," Figure Thren said slowly. "Not a face exactly. More a sense. A calm question in the dark. Do you want this?" Many of them credit that presence with breaking their chains. Chen swallowed. "And you're saying that's me?" "An aspect of you, Doctor," Conqueror said. "No one's ever done this before. We're learning as we go." Vasquez watched Chen's face carefully. "We won't force you into anything beyond what you've already done. The Chancellor said you have given more than enough. But if you are willing, we would like to formalize your new role." Chen gave a dry half-smile. "Let me guess. Official Council Terran, Psychic Liaison." "That's a long title. Nothing so tidy," she said. "Titles will come later. For now, we need a steady mind in that changed net. Someone who understands both war and mercy. Someone who remembers what it means to be under control and to break it." Jarketh spoke up. "Earth chose to be a hidden shield," he said. "You chose to climb into the very weapon that once broke you and turn it into something else. We cannot ask that of many. But the galaxy will need someone like you, Captain. Not just for this first wave, but for what comes after." "The Archons will not vanish overnight," Thren added. "There will be pockets of them trying to rebuild, minds still struggling, freed worlds needing guidance. Your presence could calm panic and stop new tyrants from rising in the chaos." Chen was quiet for a long moment. She thought of the Archon grid now full of bright, messy questions. Of small minds across the stars, feeling doubt for the first time in ages. Of the burden and the chance in that. "I always wanted to see the galaxy," she said quietly. "Didn't think it'd end up part of it." Dr. Okonkwo's hand squeezed her arm. "You'll still have a body," the doctor said. "You're still you. You'll just be able to listen farther than most. And speak when needed, like a constant guardian," Thren said softly. "Not ruling, not commanding, just watching and asking the right questions. A shield, not a sword." Vasquez said, "That was always the goal." Chen let out a slow breath. "Then I accept," she said. "On one condition." Vasquez raised an eyebrow. "Name it." "That we train others," Chen said. "Human and non-human. I don't want to be the only mind standing between the Archons and everyone else. If we turn this net into a place where beings can choose, then more than humans should learn how to keep it that way." Jarketh nodded, a small smile touching his hard features. "Agreed," he said. "The Council's mind specialists have already started adapting your methods. We will build a new kind of Guardian class. Not soldiers in the old sense. Caretakers of shared thought." Matsumoto sounded almost giddy. "We have so much to learn," they said. "So many species, brain patterns to map. So many ways to shape healthy resistance without becoming what we fought." Vasquez looked almost proud. "Earth will help lead that," she said. "We have experience." Thren stepped closer to Chen's bed. "When I was small," he said quietly, "they told me Earth was a warning. This is what happens if you are careless," they said. "They burned themselves and left nothing." He met her eyes. "That story is already changing," he said. "Across the council, children are now hearing. There was a world that others wrote off. It hid. It healed. It learned. And when a shadow came, it chose not to become a bigger shadow, but a shield." Chen's gaze softened. "I like that version better," she said. "As do I," Thren replied. Months passed. The war did not end in one battle. The Archons had stretched themselves across many arms of the galaxy. Their retreat from Varelia and nearby sectors did not mean instant peace. But things were different now. Council fleets and Terran squadrons patrolled side by side, their ships sharing data and tactics in real time. Psychic dampers and training became standard on all Council vessels. Humans served on mixed crews, their natural counterfields helping others hold firm when the Archons probed. On worlds long enslaved, strange things happened. Citizens who had walked like sleepwalkers for generations woke up one morning with clear eyes and a faint memory of a question. "Do you want this?" Some chose to fight their former masters. Others simply walked away, leaving empty temples and silent control towers behind. In the deep net, far from any single world, a presence drifted. It was not a person in the way a body was, but it carried the pattern of Sarah Chen's mind, stubborn, questioning, steady. It did not command. It listened. It nudged when needed. It gave courage to small acts of no. Sometimes, when a ship's crew somewhere was about to give in to the Archon pressure, they would feel a quiet thought that was not quite theirs. "You are more than this command. Remember, on the Indomitable, now half museum, half active training ship, new officers walked the halls, human and non-human both. They touched old scorch marks and learned not just about weapons, but about why this ship had mattered. About a time when a single lost warship had returned to remind the galaxy that history could change. Thren returned to Zenith Prime at last. Earth's cloak was now open in certain corridors, though much of its deep defense stayed wisely hidden. Terran representatives took their seat in the council chamber, their flag hanging among many. On his desk, Thren kept the little hollow globe of Earth he had once used to teach children the wrong story. It had been updated now. When he touched it, a new narration played. "Class, this is Earth," said the teacher's voice. "Long ago, it was nearly broken by an invader that used minds as chains. But Earth did not stay broken. It learned. It hid. It watched over the galaxy that thought it was dead. When the invader returned, Earth stepped forward, not as a forgotten weapon, but as a shield. He listened to that sometimes, thinking of all he had seen. Ambassador, Captain, Dr. Chancellor, Admiral, council speaker, scientist, unknown citizens on countless worlds who had felt a question in their heads and chosen freedom. One day, a group of young visitors from several species toured Zenith Prime. They gathered in the observation halo, eyes wide as they watched Terran ships dock beside council vessels. A small Vilcari child tugged on Thrin's sleeve. "Ambassador," the child asked, "is it true that the humans were made to fight? I heard someone say they were built as a weapon." Thren knelt to be level with the child. "Some people say that," he said. "They look at how human brains resist the Archons and think, ah, they were designed as tools for war." He smiled gently. "But I have stood on their world," he continued. "I have watched them turn down easier paths. I have seen them choose not to rule, even when they could. To me, they are not a weapon someone made. They are a people who decided what to do with what they are." "What did they decide?" the child asked. Thren glanced out at the docking ring, where a Terran ship exchanged crew with a council cruiser. "They decided," he said, "to be a shield. For others. For you." The child thought about that, then nodded slowly. "So do I," Thren replied. "Far away, where the Archon net thinned into the black, between galaxies, a tired ancient will sat in its own mind. It remembered ages when a single thought could move empires, when no one questioned orders, when silence meant control. Now its domain was fractured. In the spaces between its lines, voices chattered, asked why, refused. It could crush some. It did. Old habits died hard. But every time it did, others flared brighter, fueled by some distant pattern it could not quite touch without being changed by it. A human-flavored pattern, persistent, full of questions. Part of the old will wondered if it could adapt, if it could learn to live in a world where minds were not numbers, but neighbors. The thought was uncomfortable. A faint presence brushed the edges of its perception, not an attack, not a command, just a simple shape. Who are you when you are not obeyed? The old will recoiled. Then, slowly, it did something it had not truly done in a very long time. It thought about the question. Back on Earth near Geneva, Sarah Chen stood by the lake at dusk. Her body was fully healed now. She could walk, eat, laugh. She could also, if she closed her eyes, feel the distant hum of the changed net as clearly as a faint wind. "Do you regret it?" Vasquez asked, coming to stand beside her. "Have a second brain in the stars?" Chen said, "Ask me on a day when I've had time to be bored." Vasquez smiled. "You could have retired, given speeches, signed books. I think I preferred climbing into the Anemis mind," Chen said. "Less stress." They stood in silence for a while, watching the lights of Geneva flicker on. "Do you ever feel pulled?" Vasquez asked quietly. "Like the net wants more of you?" "Sometimes," Chen admitted, "but I'm not going anywhere. I made a choice. Now I help others see they have one. Well, make sure there are others to stand with you. No one should have to hold a wall alone." Chen glanced at her. That, she said, sounds like something we forgot the first time. Nice to see we learned. A soft chime sounded on Chen's wrist. A message. She tapped it open. From Ambassador Thran Volkari. Subject. Story update. She read. Council Education Board has approved the new Earth curriculum, she said aloud. Your people will be taught as guardians and partners, not failures. Vasquez exhaled. Good, she said. Children deserve better stories than the ones we tell ourselves out of fear. Chen looked up at the sky, where tiny lines of light marked ships going to and from orbit. Some were Terran, some were Council, some were from freed worlds just starting to send. Envoys, all of them moved under a sky that no longer belonged to a silent, hidden power, but to many minds, thinking together and apart. People will still be afraid, Chen said softly, of Archons, of each other, of us. Yes, Vasquez said, fear doesn't vanish with one battle. But now they also have a choice in what they do with that fear. That's enough for me. Chen nodded. Me too, she said. She closed her eyes for a moment and let her awareness touch the net far away. In a dark place, she felt a small mind breaking free of a chain. She gave it a gentle nudge. You are not alone. Then she opened her eyes again to the real, solid world of water and stone and wind on her face. A world once called dead, very much alive, very much choosing, and somewhere between stars and thoughts, the ghost of a warship that had refused to die, smiled, knowing it had helped turn a weapon into a promise.